Go on with it, go on with it. Blessings all for my life, man. My thank God for the journey, the earnings, and just for the plus. Gratitude is a must. Blessings fall by my right hand.
Babe, wake up. They repackaged more Belly and Jeremiah childhood content and gave it to Conrad in the show. No, I'm not here to talk about this iconic peach scene just yet, although I did correctly predict that it would be in Conrad's POV. I'm here to talk about this travesty, and you're just gonna have to hear me out on this one. So in Conrad's POV, we got this flashback of Conrad basically like teaching Belly how to ride a bike, and they set it up so that Steven and Jeremiah like don't want to wait for Belly, but Conrad does, of course, because he always included her and always was looking out for her. It was all a lie. Conrad did no such thing in these books. Conrad has no flashbacks where he's including Belly or spending time alone with her. The one flashback that y'all love, that infinity pancake, didn't happen in the book, and the dancing one I'll talk about in a second, that was rewritten in Conrad's favor too. The only person who spent time alone with Belly and ditched the boys with her and hung out with her a lot was Jeremiah in the books, and we were robbed of pretty much all of these flashbacks. Jeremiah was the one who she used to ride bikes with. As much as it hurts me to say, Team Jeremiah, I don't think we're getting that sand crab flashback because it looks like they just repurposed it. And if you don't know, the sand crabs are this beautiful moment from book 3 where Belly is explaining the tradition of collecting sand crabs with Jeremiah. And Belly and Jeremiah are collecting the sand crabs, right? And Jeremiah stays with Belly even though Conrad and Steven come looking for him. Jeremiah doesn't leave. Conrad and Steven ride their bikes into town and rent a video game. They tell Jeremiah if he doesn't come with them, he can't play their game, and Jeremiah chooses to stay anyway. It's so beautifully written, and that's the flashback that ends with, in my memory, he would always be golden. Looks like that kind of just got bulldozed, didn't it? That's not even scratching the surface of childhood jelly flashbacks that we are missing and things that went to Conrad, but don't forget that this dancing flashback was also rewritten in Conrad's favor because the show makes it look like Jeremiah couldn't have cared less, but he was already dancing with Susanna, and Conrad only does it because his mom tells him to do it. Guys, I'll talk more about it, but this episode, I really didn't want to watch it, and if you're one of those who wasn't watching this season, please don't start now. Love yourself. If you are watching, prepare for anything that you were dreading in book 3 to get worse, and don't expect anything that you wanted, okay? Because you're not getting it. I'll dissect the Conrad POV. It's a lot, guys.
Hi guys, it's your favorite, TheSirenSayz, and welcome back to my channel where I speak about movie, TV, and sometimes books, and everything that I like, don't like, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and all throughout and in between those frames of media. Now, tonight, we are tackling the question, and no one on Cudgeon's Beach seems to be able to answer. Why does a perfectly ordinary senior year engagement set off DEFCON 1 in every adult within a 5-mile radius? Buckle up, let's get into it, okay? So first, we're gonna start with some disclaimers. Number 1, and most important, okay? God over everything. Number 2, these are my opinions and my opinions alone. You do not have to agree, but if you want to continue, please just listen. I'm trying to be as fair as I possibly can, right? Meaning everybody but one certain character is going to get a lot of empathy, okay? Every character will get some empathy, okay? But some will get a little bit more than others. And it's not who you think either. Now, I made a video previously about the show. It wasn't about the episodes. I just had an opinion about the jelly ship. As I should. I mean, what do you mean? But today we're gonna get into episodes 1 to 4. I know you're thinking, but episode 5 is out. When this is coming out, you should be able to see it. I will be finishing the rest of the show after it's done, because I just feel like I know how it's gonna end. There's really no point in me watching this week by week like I'm waiting to be surprised. If I was right, I put a clip of Corinne's video in the beginning of this, and I needed to do this because it's kind of the crux of where I've been coming from with this show for a long time. Much to say, I've never read these books. They were a little past my prime. I think I stopped reading by the time these books became popular. And of course, I picked back up reading, but by then I was a little too old. Now, last in the disclaimers, I watched this show because, you know, there's a hole in me where I'm like, yo, I need some young adult romance that's cute. And so I watched it the same way that I watched To All the Boys I Loved Before, okay? And I've seen XO Kitty and all that stuff, and they have not filled the hole. They really have not. And there are a couple reasons for that that we might get into in another video, and I might bring up here and there throughout this video, okay? So let's go into housekeeping. Let's just chat. Let's just talk about the last few episodes, all right? And before we get into it fully, this will be the only time I'm talking about this show. This is the last season. This is the only thing you'll see. How it ends does not matter because, like I've shown, because I listen to Korean and I listen to other people, I know how it's going to end already, okay? This is just really important to bring up because I know that they are not going to fix the broken relationships that I have already seen halfway through the show being done in the next 5 episodes. They're not going to fix them in a way that would satisfy me. So I don't need to watch the rest of it and talk to you guys about it. I will finish it, but I probably won't do more than a short, depending on what I hear. So keep your eyes out for that, okay? So, just to speak for 5 seconds about the technical stuff before we start talking about the episodes, right? Jenny Han's beach town young adult romance follows Belly Conklin, right? Isabella Conklin, as she's pulled between the Fisher brothers while navigating family grief and first adult choices. Season 3, okay, time jumps to Belly's junior year, fall semester. She's dating Jeremiah, Conrad's at Stanford Med School, and Susanna's Memorial Garden reunion looms. Now, I wanted to talk about just the premise of this thing, right? I have no idea how long this is going to be, so please get a drink. We out here. The idea of being between 2 family members like this, it's already messy. It's already messy. And before you say, no, it's not, think about the times when it's happened in adults, right? Telenovelas, movies like Something Borrowed. I need to make a video about that because I have very unpopular opinions about that movie, but it still fits the theme. Just the idea of being between 2 people who are like family or who are very close or who are actually family and bouncing back and forth between them like Cannonball from Ben 10, diabolical. Absolutely diabolical and so messy. Whether you as a viewer believe that the feelings are real on Conrad's side or real on Jeremiah's side doesn't matter. It's messy anyway. And feelings are involved anyway, okay? Because coitus happened. Coitus is another term for things that happen in bedrooms, okay? So feelings are going to be somewhat attached, even if they're not as strong. You can tell me who you believe had stronger feelings down below, okay? I just think that this was always meant to fail because this is the hardest type of love triangle to really play out in a way that is super satisfactory. When it's just 2 guys who don't have any relation to each other or 2 guys who are friends, 2 guys who are not related, it's a little easier. But when it's family, it's always super messy and viewers are always fighting about who she should have picked and how this person feels because she didn't pick them. Like, just think about Elena, Stefan, and Damon. My point has been made, okay? And even though I am Delana, not 1000% I'm Delana, that doesn't mean it wasn't messy, and that doesn't mean that I don't see where some of the Stelena fans were coming from. Let's be for real, okay? So, just to get into the episode by episode, right? These are going to be brief, and then we're going to get into everything more character by character, as I usually am. Okay, y'all know me, all right? So episode 1 is called Last Season, okay? Belly starts college at Finch while hiding a Paris study abroad acceptance from Jeremiah, okay? Conversely, Jeremiah learns that he is short a few credits to graduate, so he has to do 1 more semester. That just makes everything blow up with his dad. And then we also see that Belly discovers that Jeremiah had cheated on his Cabo trip a couple semesters ago, and their relationship fractures. Let's get into that, okay? let's get into that. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, to be very honest with you guys, Corinne, right? Corinne, let's be for real. All right. She really helped me watch this show in a way where I understand it so much better now. And I know you're going to say you're biased. I'm not biased. It's like when you know something, but then you go to college for it. Like, okay, let's say you're a dancer and you're naturally talented at ballet, but then you end up going to the New York City Ballet Academy or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden, what ends up happening is that you know so much more about ballet than you knew before. Okay, so for example, why am I relating it to this? I already was a jellyfisher. I was already a Jeremiah and Belly shipper. Watching Corinne's content just gave me more facts to back up my feelings. That's all I'm saying. Okay? And yes, they are facts. You can believe in something even if it's not a fact. For example, you can like Belly with Conrad. That does not mean in any shape or form that it's factual that she's better off with him. Does it mean that factually she may be happier with him? Maybe. That's debatable. That is a debatable thing, right? Because people can have feelings that don't correlate with reality. It's true. So I'm not going to tell y'all that y'all are wrong about how happy she would be with Conrad. I'm not going to tell you that at all. If he act right, she'll be very happy. But is he the better choice? Nah, my facts say otherwise. Okay? So to dig in deeper to episode 1. She moves into her freshman dorm at Finch College alongside her bestie Taylor. They decide not to room together. Okay? I thought that was interesting, and I also thought it was weird. They were having the conversation about not rooming together to allow themselves to make other friends. And Laurel was so happy about that. I thought that was kind of dumb. If you're friends with somebody and you're so codependent that you can't spend time with your friends and also experience new things, that's a little weird to me. I understand the concept, but here's the way I thought about it. I'm sure that Belly and Taylor do not have the same mind. They don't do the same sports. They don't all want to do the same things. It would have been nice if after a tough day at their different classes, they get to come home and relax and just be besties together and gossip and chill and sleep together. That would have been great. But no, whatever. And I know part of it was so that Taylor could go into the sorority. And that's the thing as well. We didn't get enough background into who Belly and Taylor are as people for me to say, it would make sense, at least on a base level, that they wouldn't live together in college because Taylor is a sorority type of chick and Belly is absolutely not. I do like that Taylor's in a sorority because it mirrors Jeremiah and shows how much she has in common with Jeremiah, which could also be why she likes Jeremiah so much. One of the reasons why she likes Jeremiah so much for Belly. Next up, right? Adam Fisher be fighting with Jeremiah because of the credits thing, showing that he thinks that Jeremiah is just this waste man who doesn't think things through and always has a lot of laissez-faire, life is life, go on with the wind. Well, that's what you get for having a lot of money and not teaching your sons discipline. The only reason Conrad has any discipline, and Conrad has no emotional discipline, but the only reason Conrad has any mental and physical discipline is because he was shown all of your dumb trauma as a child, and so he had to grow up to a certain degree. So let's just relax on Jeremiah. Thank you. Okay. Steven and Taylor are toxic. Them being together in a real way wasn't working, so they found a dirty way to be together instead and decided to hook up behind both of their significant others' backs, which is just, who cares about that, right? It's whatever. Also the fact that, like, from where I am, it was this big will they, won't they. Steven realized he wanted her, and then Taylor realized she wanted him, but then after everything happened, it's just, ooh. Ugh. I just didn't really care for their scenes anymore because it was just drama for drama's sake. And the deepness of their relationship was so strange to me because they didn't show any backstory to that. And if all their backstory is in a book or some kind of side novella, they should have did something with that. Anyways, so on the West Coast, Conrad excels in Stanford med school rotations and therapy, but dreads missing Susanna's memorial garden ceremony. I disagree with the therapy thing. I think he's being as honest as he can be, but there were moments where the therapist would ask him questions like, is there anything else or are you sure? And he would lie. How is therapy going well if you're still lying? Therapy is going. Well is debatable. I'll just say that. He looks sad and tired and is just kind of living the life. It is what it is, right? Now, in the same first episode, right? They have a keg party at Jeremiah's frat house. Belly hates frats. I'll discuss more on my thoughts on that later, but Belly hates frats, right? She hears from someone named Lacey. She's in the bathroom. Lacey and her friends are kikiing outside. She's talking about, ooh, the coitus I had with Jeremiah. Girl. So she hears that and she starts freaking out. Valid. Let me not say valid. It's not valid, but we're gonna get into why it's not valid, guys. Right? Her anger is valid, but everything that happened after, it's not that valid. Not as much. The feelings are valid, okay? But the ending of that, not valid, okay? Let's get into episode 2. Flashbacks reveal that Jeremiah and Belly yelled, let's just end it. Okay? Are we broken up? Yeah, let's just end it, okay? Right before spring break, fueling his we were on a break defense about Cabo. Now, okay, that's not a defense, it's a fact. He's defending himself with a fact. And I feel like you bond ratters, okay, need to just accept that. You can just say that you just don't like him and leave it at that. But don't lie and make it seem like they were fully together or that Conrad wouldn't have done something similar. Or worse. Conrad would have made it muddy so that not even we as the readers would have known if they were actually broken up and he would have cheated anyway. Real cheating. I'm just saying that because that's a fact. Before therapy and maybe even in the middle of therapy, Conrad would have done that and worse. So before you're like, oh my God, Jeremiah's dirty cheater, Conrad has that in him too. Wasn't he low-key cheating on Nicole in season? Oh, we're not going to talk about that? Okay. Because he did that. But we're going to leave it alone because we wanted him to mess around with Belly. Don't be a hypocrite. Just saying. All right. Now, Belly spirals into isolation, resolves to accept Paris, and lives on cup of noodles while campus whispers swirl around about her breakup. Look, the Paris thing is so difficult. Because it seems like she was just like, okay, I'm going to go to Paris to leave this man behind, right? I want to talk about the Paris thing for 5 seconds. When she tells him about Paris finally, he reacts the way he really would have reacted by what we know of his character, which is, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. I would never try to hold you back. Go. It's only going to be a couple semesters. Go. Have a good 4 months in Paris. What are you talking about, right? And then later they tried to like retcon it. And that's just, in my opinion, right? That's not Jeremiah. That's them trying to add conflict so that she has a reason to start thinking maybe Conrad would be better because Conrad wouldn't have done this or Conrad would have accepted this. Even though from what they put up about Jeremiah in the last 2 seasons, we know that theoretically that's not true. Like, sorry, I mean energetically. That's not true. Let's be for real, okay? A separate flashback shows Belly and Conrad sharing a cozy, platonic Christmas day in Cousins, an emotional secret she never tells Jeremiah. Okay, so in the book, right, it was revealed that she emotionally cheated on Jeremiah for a while. She was having moments with Conrad and not telling him about it. Emotional moments that would bring back her feelings, but then she would kind of like fight them back down, right? Like she wasn't like thinking, I want to kiss him right now, but she was remembering all their old moments and being super sentimental and realizing that she really does still love him, leaving herself wide open to something happening, but Conrad would hold back, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it happened around that same year that the Cabo thing happened. So to make it seem like Belly is innocent, it's just intellectually dishonest. Dishonest. All right. She also never tells Jeremiah this either. Crazy to me, but whatever. So, en route fast food fight leaves Taylor on the curb, okay? Steven is trying to say how much he loves her, and she's not trying to hear it because her self-esteem when it comes to him is low. Then he gets into a car crash. Okay, and this forces people back together, forces Conrad to immerse back into his family in a way that he wasn't, and this unintentionally causes him to lose his residency. So, Conrad bolts from his clinic rotation to ensure that Steven's treatment is going well, and he gets fired. Okay, this is a move that underscores his lingering loyalty to the Conklins. Okay, which is cool, but as we can see, his relationship with Steven has always been pretty good, and they've always had a very intimate and deep relationship. You know, he's always been nice to Steven. You know, has he always been nice to Belly? Not exactly, but they've done a lot of retconning this season to say that he has always been nice to Belly, and I that's just crazy to me. Like, please. All right, so outside the hospital, Jeremiah, is trying to have some conversations with Belly, like, please forgive me. And he drops down to his knees and he gives her a ring, and Belly is like, yes, I'll do it. And they set a 6-week wedding clock. Now, I'm going to get into my opinions on the wedding after we go through all the episodes, okay? So let's just keep going. Jeremiah makes the engagement official with a sunrise proposal redo at the bedside. It's so unfair. I know her head was hazy and everything. And Belly agrees to reveal it after Susanna's memorial dedication. Like, they don't want to make it all about them. Taylor is like, are you pregnant? Like, why would you get married? And this is a foreshadowing of the mixed family responses that they're going to be getting. So at the memorial garden, right, Jeremiah's heartfelt speech is upstaged by Conrad's surprise appearance. So he was supposed to do it with Conrad, the speech. Never ended up happening. He did it by himself, did it wonderfully. But nobody cared about that because Conrad's here. That's also a foreshadowing of what Conrad means to the family. The family being the Conklins and the Fishers. Jeremiah gets reduced when Conrad is there. And Susanna was the only one that would uplift them. Now, I'm not saying that Susanna is perfect. I feel like she also uplifted Conrad a lot. But she was one of the only ones who, I guess, when it was down to the wire, could see, oh no, let me be there for my chair. Like, at least at the last minute, And because Belly is in love with him right now, she is also able to see that he's being put down. And so what I really loved in this episode was how she was really there. She was really there for him. She was there holding his hand, kissing him in front of Conrad. Just making it known that, like, hey, I'm happy here. Hey, he's here. We're great, So I just wanted to put that in as a big thumbs up to Belly, So the post-ceremony dinner has a meltdown, okay? Adam orders a seafood tower on Laurel's dime. Adam and Laurel trade passive-aggressive toast. I'm wondering, was there like a drunk night that Susanna didn't know about that makes y'all both hate her? Like, Adam is a despicable guy, but it's like Laurel's distaste for him feels like it has a lot to do with shame and less to do with like righteous indignation, if you know what I mean. Anyways, so passive aggressive toast. I'm gonna get into that part too, because Laurel, you got me effed up. But anyway, Belly blurs. We're getting married in August, right? To put some positivity on her and Jeremiah. So Laurel drags Belly home, forbidding the cousin Summer. Like, ma'am, she's in college. Relax. And you see, it's this infantilizing of Belly that doesn't make any sense to me, considering how her parenting style is. And she keeps talking out the side of her neck. She'll infantilize Belly one moment, but then want her to make more adult decisions the next. Pick a side. And I know it's deeper than that, but the hypocrisy is a little black and white here. Just a little bit. Anyways, Belly and Jeremiah become star-crossed lovers in exile, which is so stupid to me. Anyways, last part of episode 3, Conrad is alone in the parking lot. As Radiohead's No Surprises plays, whispering, "What have I done?" He's just disassociating. He can't believe they're getting married. He's the only one who I'm like, all right, him being freaked out, maybe even upset, passive aggressive, rude, understandable. As annoying as he was in season 2, him like negging Belly the whole time they were driving to like the little motel, it was disgusting, but it was understandable. He was like, "Yeah, Belly, you over here with Jeremiah? Yeah, Belly, yeah, I know a lot about you, Belly." And it's like, yeah, terrible, but it at least makes sense from his perspective and the history that these three have in the love triangle. Let's get to the last episode that I watched, episode 4, Last Stand. So on Belly's 21st birthday, Laurel refuses to join the wedding dress shopping, which was so absolutely disgusting to me. It was like a big slap in the face. So that prompted Belly to cry. And, she says that she will never accept this. She's not even going to come to the wedding. And, she gets sadness because Taylor and her mom comes, right? And she's seeing what she's missing out on. And it's not having the effect that Laurel thinks it's going to have. We're going to get into that soon, don't worry. So then Belly is like, "Look, I'm going to move to the beach house with Jeremiah." I absolutely love that scene. I love that last scene in particular, not the whole scene, just that last scene. Belly finds a budget ivory dress at Prom Promises. Keep a note of that. Budget. While Jeremiah endures Nepo Baby digs during his Breaker Capital internship with his dad. Taylor sacrifices her Met Gala adjacent New York City internship, using her savings to clear her mom Lucinda's salon debt. We're going to get into that more, don't worry. So, Surf Sessions, Olive Branch, Jeremiah invites Conrad to be the co-best man. Conrad initially is like, hell nah, calling the marriage kind of ridiculous. We're even going to talk about that. And Laurel formally says that she won't be attending the wedding. Belly texts her dad to walk her down the aisle. Contention grows from that. Conrad also bakes Belly dirt bomb muffins and quietly accepts the best man duties and catches a tearful Belly in the beach house dorm bedroom, which is why he changed his mind, because he saw her crying. He was like, nobody's that heartless. If you know what movie that's from, you are goated, okay? Nobody's that heartless, but sometimes they are. Let's just be for real, okay? I wanted to talk about a lot of things about this show, so it's gonna be a long episode, guys. It is. So, all those episodes that we spoke about, right? We need to speak about a few things to go with the points that I'm going to be making, right? So, with the way that this show has been going, the critics are like low, 66%, which is pretty decent, right? It's a still addictive melodrama, but never the epic romance it promises. And I kind of agree with that a little bit, okay? All right. This show is very popular and I understand why, but I also wish that it was done better, and that's just a sentiment that will always be a thing for me. I'm so sorry, okay? Let's talk about social media sentiment for just 5 seconds, okay? So the positive is that, TikTok edits under hashtag Team Conrad rack up tens of millions of likes, praising his glow up empathy, okay? And the neutral have like Reddit threads that note that the pacing feels uneven, but it's serviceable. Now, negative is like Ringgate, which backlash that mocks Jeremiah's tiny ring engagement, which doesn't make sense. Like, y'all be claiming that you know Belly, but you're mad at the ring. We're gonna have a conversation about that, don't worry. So, here is the more counter narrative, right? Lola Tongue, the actress who plays Belly, defended the ring as practical and sweet. Take a note of the words practical and the word sweet if you want to. What's the cultural impact of this show? Right? The facts are that Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah debates dominate YA TikTok and Book Talk, fueling over 2 billion combined hashtag views, all right? And this is by the Prime Social Listening Report. Now, the Taylor Swift catalog spiked to 120% after episode 3, okay? And in my opinion, the proposal ring discourse shows how microprops can hijack a season's narrative in Gen Z fandoms, and I'm going to speak some more on that, okay? I wanted to just give you a few more opinions, all right? I think that the strengths of this season are good time jump, okay? Conrad is more likable, but we're gonna get into why that is. Some weaknesses. A hospital parking lot proposal can strain some credibility, and the mid-season still risk that CW syndrome with the pacing, okay? And we have a little hot seat question, right, that I want you guys to answer. Does fleshing out Jeremiah's flaws, which is what smarter Bonrads will say this is, make the endgame choice feel less inevitable or more? Right? And does it make it feel more earned or less, in your opinion? Okay. So I'm gonna get into everything that I want to talk about with you guys, right? So, oh God. Summer I Turned Pretty season 3 time jumps to junior year fall. Belly and Jeremiah rebound from the Cabo breakup with a lightning fast engagement. Conrad reemerges from therapy, quote unquote, to quote unquote support, but every parental figure responds as if a shotgun wedding is imminent, right? Let's speak about the engagement backlash, because I got a lot to say, all right? Jeremiah is 1 semester shy of a business degree, okay? And he's 21 years old, right? Belly turns 21 in episode 4 with I think about 45 credits left in her bio major. Now, the average US first marriage age as of 2024, okay, is 28 for women and 30 for men. This is the US Census, okay? And long-term studies say couples who marry after age 20 and who knew each other for more than 6 years show 17% lower divorce odds. Okay? That is a JFP study in 2022. Okay? This is a narrative shorthand, okay? Young adult dramas often equate young and engaged with you're throwing your life away. Yet, Jeremiah and Belly's plan is peculiarly no stakes. Well, let me not say no stakes, let me be fair. Low stakes. There's no babies, no grand Spain elopement or Las Vegas elopement, Just a courthouse-size ceremony and internships to finish. Laurel's blanket, you're wrong, feels less like maternal caution and more like unresolved self-loathing. We're gonna get into that. Hold on, we're gonna get into that. I'm just giving you guys some of my thoughts. Conrad's aside, right? When his little ex-side piece turned bestie said, wow, it's kind of weird that they're engaged. Conrad said, well, they've known each other their whole lives. Quote, they've known each other their entire lives. That actually undercuts the backlash. And it exposed the script's need for real external conflict because this one doesn't make any sense. I'm so sorry. I'm not saying that it's not weird to a certain degree. Like if you look at it very hard, I'm not saying that nobody could find anything wrong with this. But the way that everybody is reacting with the way that it was portrayed to us doesn't make sense. I'm talking about the way that it's portrayed, right? Young marriages can be rough, but they portray this one. There is certain levels of but there are other levels of okay. Like they're very mature in some ways and not mature in others. It's a little too mixed for people to be acting like there's no way this could ever work. Let me explain what I mean about them being mature. Let's get into the money talk. So the engagement ring. Vintage white gold, half a carat, allegedly is $940 on Etsy, right? The dress is $279 allegedly off the rack at Prom Promises episode 4. What's my opinion? We'll see. But the viewers are split, right? TikTok praises the non-materialistic Gen Z love, while hashtag Ringgate memes roast the stone as microscopic. Y'all be doing too much for me. Okay? But let's talk about some stuff. Answer me this. If Susanna were alive, would she throw them a backyard wedding or shut it down? Let me know. I have my own opinions, and we'll get into them soon. Does the show's panic sell realistic stakes, or does it sabotage the triangle for drama's sake? What do you guys think? I will answer these two questions at the end. So, let's talk about Steven and Taylor. Just for a second, just to get a break from the rough stuff and just get into stuff that doesn't really matter. Just to refresh you with their plot. They're like having this little secret roommates with benefits pact. They have the Steven car crash, the hospital reunion, and still no clarity on the boyfriend versus best friend label as of episode 4, right? I'm not the only one who has checked out on their storyline. Other viewers have too. Repetition fatigue, right? 5 separate text missed or voicemail tropes in 4 episodes, right? This whole, if I had told her when I had the chance, or if I had told him before, telling him that I didn't care, all of these missed opportunities, walking right past each other, proverbially and metaphorically, it's tiring, right? Now the stakes clash, right? Steven's Princeton to VC ambitions versus Taylor's debt-crushing salon bailout shows real-world money tension. But the show keeps cutting away before any payoff with those two stories, right? They're showing so much like fairy dust, like, ooh, I see a hint of depth for Steven and Taylor apart from each other. So when they finally come together, it should be so deep I'm drowning, and it should be beautiful death. It should be a beautiful drowning, okay? But we never get there. Now, Steven's co-worker Myra, or is it Mia? Myra, I think. They share a parallel hustle energy, right? Low-key, there's a little bit of this whole enemies to lovers between them two, right? And it's highlighting what Steven and Taylor lack. And here's the thing. I'm seeing here from Taylor's story with her mom that she's actually really smart. So you could easily replace Myra with Taylor, but they're not giving us enough for us to fully see how well they work together. Should I have to read the book to know that Taylor's really smart too, so she should match well with Steven? Like, come on, guys. Give me more. Thank you. Let's talk about what works though, right? Taylor's episode 3 monologue. about covering Lucinda's mortgage adds socioeconomic texture that was missing in season 2. And it added depth to her, why she is the way she is, why her friendship with Belly is the way it is. It added a lot of depth, and I really appreciated seeing it, right? I wish that they had given us all of this sooner, and so the ship's angst would feel more earned and not as manufactured as it feels in this 3rd season. So, let's get into what we're all here for. Okay, Conrad 2.0 versus Messy Jeremiah. Let's get into it. I'm going to talk about this from 3 sides. The dimension, all right, and Conrad and Jeremiah. The 2 dimensions that they are going through. So the therapy arc, right? Weekly CBT, grief group, but still quits, well, he metaphorically quit the clinic to chase family drama. And what I mean by this is what, right? He had an out. The lady was like, hey, go be with your family. But he mentally was not mature enough to see that he should have quit. This is why I keep putting therapy in quotations when it comes to Conrad. Because it's not showing up as much. He's just a little less rude. He's just less rude. Being less rude is not like an opening to therapy working. Let's be so for real, guys. With Jeremiah, there's no therapy depicted. The anxiety is manifesting as him being short-sighted and not seeing that he needs more credits, and the impulsive proposal. Now, hero edit techniques. These are just my opinions. The soft lighting, acoustic needle drops. Every time he looks at Belly, flashbacks amplifying, quote unquote, he loved her first. And then with Jeremiah, you get the frat party montage, beer pong slow-mos, Cabo confession, just to brand him as reckless, right? Consistency meter, my opinion. Conrad bakes the dirt bomb muffins, right? Equaling some growth. Volunteers as the best man, which is supposed to equal maturity, and stares longingly at Belly in a bunch of montages, which shows a little bit of regression into his feelings. While on the Jeremiah side, the season piles on flaws that are not hinted at in season 1 and 2. I feel as though the editor mandated it to smooth Belly's future pivot to Conrad. And the reason why I care about this, right? Talk about the book divergence, because this is the reason why I care. It's a fact that Novel Jer knew that Susanna was going to die. But he kept being the happy one despite that. The show removed that, retconned that, to make Conrad more sympathetic and tragic, and to paint Jeremiah as naive. Yep, clock it, okay? They've been doing this a lot. As you can see from the first clip I showed you, Corinne's clip, a lot of the things that a lot of viewers are swooning over when it comes to Conrad was actually things that Jeremiah did past, present, and slight future. They decided to give it to Conrad. Okay? So the writers have sharpened Conrad's edges, smoothed all the rough parts, and dulled Jeremiah, steering the audience sympathy like a ship rudder. Okay? They're steering y'all. Okay? Here's something I would have preferred. This is just me playing fanfic. They should have brought Nicole back, had Conrad go through real therapy, and have like 1 or 2 flashbacks about why he was even interested in Nicole before Belly came back, and realize that he could be friends with her, and then maybe fall for her. Okay? This makes the triangle less horrifying for me. And also makes me like Conrad more. Because here's the thing. I'm not going to put him with a black girl unless I like him. So I don't hate Conrad. But I don't really like him with Belly either. And that's just the facts of the matter, okay? To drive my points forward, let's talk about Belly. Let's talk about how weirdly they're writing her. Okay, let's talk about it. Belly, the athlete, the introvert, or the writer insert. Okay? Is Belly a real character? Or is she just what Jenny Han was when she was a kid? Let's talk about it. The combo cheating logic, right? The breakup was verbal and mutual days before Jeremiah's fling, right? That's a fact. But my opinion, right, is that the moral outrage tracks more with fandom shipping norms than with the show's actual evidence. It's like the fandom is treating it like Ross and Rachel, like it echoes that, but minus the ambiguity, right? So with Ross and Rachel, people side with Rachel because it was very ambiguous. Like maybe they were on a break, but if you really watch the show, they kind of were, and Ross just used any little flimsy thing to cheat. With Belly and Jeremiah, they were actually broken up. Neither of them spoke to the other, so it's not like she texted Jer and was like, I didn't mean what I said. We're not really broken up, but I'm going to give you some time. When you come back, we can talk. Nothing. None of them spoke to each other. So they were actually broken up and not talking. They were in a separation phase of the breakup. So if he kissed, touched, whatever, tugged anybody, it may not feel good. It may not feel right, but it was okay. Logically, it was. I'm so sorry, guys. This does not mean that I would have felt good about that. It's not about how we feel. It's about the facts. Facts don't care about your feelings a lot of the time. Now, let's speak about Belly's personality, right? In my opinion, the show toggles between Belly being this extrovert athlete, swimmer who likes to play on volleyball, right? Bear gigs and night swims. And then she's like this solitary poet. Like depending on which brother she's near, right? So the result is like a Schrodinger's protagonist where viewers can project onto but struggle to decode. So you can see yourself in her, but not all the way. Even though To All the Boys I Loved Before is not my favorite, one of the reasons why I had any strong opinions at all is because I could see myself in Laura Jean. Like I'm a Laura Jean type. Like I'm smart, but I wouldn't call myself super nerdy. Like I'm a good girl. I can do this. I'm not necessarily the cleanest when I was a teenager. Like I could relate to her a lot. Who's really related to Belly all the way? Are you? I don't know. You could, but it would be on a very surface level, in my opinion. Now let's talk about the engagement joy. Let's talk about a fact. Belly be beaming at her ring in 7 separate shots. And she only frowns when the family disapproves. It's like in the Bible. They were Adam and Eve. Walking around, stark nude. Fine, happy, in it, with it. And then as soon as disappointment became a thing, shame filled them. And they didn't want to be naked anymore. She thought, this is a great idea, I'm so happy. Then as soon as her family was like, ew. Then it's like, oh, but why? So in my opinion, right, if the writers flip her allegiance later, which they more than likely will, it risks smelling of a plot hole rather than the emotional truth. Now, I know she's young, so she can change her mind. So I guess that's good enough, but it's not good enough for me, okay? Now let's get into what everybody has been waiting for, okay? Me crapping on Laurel. We're here. Let's talk about grief, projection, and hypocrisy. So, oh my God. YouTube essayists will label Laurel the trilogy's stealth antagonist for undermining Belly's choices, right? Referencing the books, We Will Always Have Summer, right? Here are some on-screen receipts. That diabolical sit-down in episode 3. She offers 0 practical concerns. Money, housing, degree completion. And then ends with a pouty, you're wrong, and then exits. Classic projection meltdown. And before you say, she has a point, they could just finish. Sure, they could. But Jeremiah's rich. They have an empty beach house. And as long as neither one of them cheats physically or emotionally, they probably would have been able to make it. Also, they were smart enough to get a cheap ring that the girl still liked and a cheap dress that the boy will still love to rip off her when the wedding night comes. So I'm not seeing, like, sure, we could have more discussions about what was going on with them when it came to the money thing. I'll talk about that, don't worry. But I'm talking about Laurel and how if she had sat them down and given them some good reasons, I would have been on her side. But it was just like, but marrying this young is stupid. And it's like she just expected them to know why it was stupid. Like, reading comprehension. Like, no, ma'am. Especially when people aren't 15, you're going to have to give them more reasons than because I said so. Especially if you want them to agree with you, let's be for real. All right? Now, there is a soft spot double standard, okay? Laurel is very snippy with Jeremiah about speech prep, but then instantly gentles to, I'll nudge him softly the moment Conrad enters the chat. Okay? There was also the dinner dissonance. Ooh, I got mad at her here, okay? She opens the toast. She starts it by praising her son Steven for saving her tuition by not doing any extra time in Princeton, simultaneously shading Jeremiah's extra semester. Weaponization 101. Y'all not gonna fight me on that. I'm so sorry. Y'all not gonna fight me on that. Crazy, okay? Like, you don't want them to get married, fine. But shading Jeremiah, like, and this was before she found out about the wedding. So her thinking that Conrad and Steven are so much better than Jeremiah was a thought that she had way before her daughter ruined her own life. Whatever. Now, she also has a level of romantic hypocrisy where she's starting to rekindle or trying to stop herself from rekindling sparks with her ex-husband. Yet she scolds her 21-year-old for finding a lifelong commitment. I would also want to talk about it. I won't be able to. It's been sitting way too long anyways. Speaking about how Belly and Jeremiah do kind of mirror Laurel and Belly's dad. Belly's dad is like a mix of Jeremiah and Conrad. And I realized that because they gave this man more screen time. And I think that's very interesting narratively, but we didn't really get to go into it very much. So, I'm not a psychiatrist, okay, but I did do a little bit of psychology in college. So my personal opinion, right, is that Laurel's arc tracks this very Kubler-Ross, which is an anger phase, right, of post-Susanna grief, right? And she's displacing the loss onto Belly's engagement. She's projecting. Another question I have for you guys. I have a lot. She's talking a lot down there, okay? Is Laurel gatekeeping Susanna's memory, or is she just reliving her own marital regret, or both? Before we end this, I do want to bring up, right, the Jeremiah and the money thing. It did make me uncomfortable that Belly was working so hard and Jeremiah wasn't, but it wasn't as bad because he brought up that it makes him uncomfortable too. But also Belly is kind of being like, look, we need you to get on your dad's good side. So she's allowing him to only have one job because she thinks that one job will have a more important desired outcome than him also joining her and having two jobs. I appreciate that, okay? I can appreciate where both of them are coming from. And Jeremiah is not some bum, so relax on him in the comments. It bothered me too, but the conversations they had were like, all right, it's not my relationship, but I think you're both worth it. Obviously, that's not how it's going to end, but it is what it is, right? I'm going to do a lightning round of hot takes, okay? That I've garnered from doing some research. Some of them are my opinions, some of them are not. You guess down below, okay? So Jeremiah's frat house vibe clashes with Belly's alleged bookworm persona. Writers must either let Belly embrace that party girl energy or drop the introvert apple. So pick one or the other. Now, the TikTok hashtag Team Conrad has 1.2 million views, and the Jeremiah team hashtag has 840 million. So we see which one y'all prefer, as usual. But Team Jeremiah is pretty big, though. The hospital parking lot proposal is number 3, equals peak CW melodrama. Iconic or eye roll, that's your call. Now, the soundtrack spike, which is Fleetwood Mac's Landslide, saw a 218% Spotify jump the week of episode 4. So, this show is very good at making things take off. Number 5, Adam Fisher remains cardboard. Rich dad villainy could use Succession level nuance. Like, he's just there to be a dick. And we thought, like, in season 2, Laurel kind of jolted him a little and he had softness for 5 seconds, but that was all removed. So it just is what it is, I guess. In closing, the strengths is what I brought up before. The time jump was good. The soundtrack is okay. And the richer second family line plotting, like with Taylor in them, highlight of the show. I preferred to see Taylor and her mom hashing things out than I preferred to see Laurel and Belly. Just saying. Some weaknesses. The engagement panic feels a little forced by the writers, and Laurel's vague objections strain her credibility as a character and as this wise old owl that they portrayed her to be in the last 2 seasons. Jeremiah's late stage flaws, like all of a sudden he's the worst person ever. It's patchwork to uplift Conrad, and that's my factual personal opinion. Okay. Some lingering questions for episode 5 going forward. Will they actually get married and maybe divorce? So to change the books, right? Will Belly and Jer actually get married despite the family sieging them? And then maybe divorce soon after? Because we know she's going to end up with Conrad. We just don't know how they're going to do it, right? Can Steven and Taylor convert this classmate type tension into a real narrative romance that we actually care about? They probably won't have enough time. And lastly, does Conrad's best man promise hold up? Especially once the bachelor party tropes arrive. Like, I'm really hoping that, like, oh God, what if, like, both of them get drunk, or Conrad gets drunk and he, like, reveals the Christmas that they spent together and says he still loves her. And that's why, because in the books, Jeremiah calls off the wedding because he knows that Belly ultimately won't be happy with him. And it's not because he's not a good guy. It's because he is aware that he will always be fighting with Conrad for her. And he's done. And I get it. So, here is what I'll say, right? Hit me down in the comments below. Okay? Is Laurel justified or jealous? Okay. And does microscopic describe Belly's ring or Jeremiah's odds of actually making it to I do? Hey, I love him, but we can be a little shady, can't we? Just a little bit. By the time you guys see this, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I'm not planning to make a video on the rest of it. I might. If you guys care enough, if this video gets enough views, I might make a video. I might. But it wasn't my plan. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts down below. And goodbye, my sires. God bless you. Sue.